So, welcome to this installment of Pioneer Webinars this evening. You guys know because you registered to be here, which thank you so much for doing that. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the question, is owning a business a good fit for you? So my name is Chelsea Risco. We'll get my introduction out of the way here. I'm going to be your guys' host this evening. I am the e-learning specialist here at Pioneer Federal Credit Union. I've been lucky enough to be part of Team Pioneer for 6 years now. We're going on 7 here pretty soon. And I've spent a lot of time in our learning and development team, training our team members internally. But this year we started a new journey, which was to start offering webinars and podcasts for our members and our communities. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here this evening. And let's go ahead and jump in. So the topic this evening is actually a question, as I mentioned, which is owning a business a good fit for you? So we're starting all the way back on step number 1. Before you even start looking into funding or business types or even bank accounts or any of that stuff, we are going to go all the way back, and we're going to use our time tonight to really dig deep and see if being an entrepreneur or business owner is really right for you. So this evening specifically, we're going to focus on clarifying some of the myths and realities of small business ownership. We're going to start a self-assessment to determine your readiness to become a small business owner. Then we're going to set a plan of action to complete your self-assessment by seeking feedback from your stakeholders, such as your family, your friends, and even your potential customers. And lastly, I'm going to give you guys some clarity on next steps and point you in the direction of some really great resources. So let's start with asking an important question. What is your motivation for going into business? Now, I know not everybody on the call tonight is in that place of, oh my gosh, I'm trying to teeter on this choice. Am I going to start a business? Am I not going to? But maybe this is just an opportunity to learn so that you can help others. Try and put yourself in those shoes. Try and put yourself in that scenario of you're wanting to decide if starting a business is right for you. Think about what your motivation would be. So chances are you probably have more than one. And I actually have a list here that I want to share and see if these ones resonate with you. And again, there's no wrong answers if you guys have other ones, because perhaps there is an item on this list that isn't shown. Be sure to share that in the chat as well, and we'll discuss it. But as far as my list goes, number 1, I want to be my own boss. I mean, I just think depending on how your work history has gone, where you've worked, what your career looks like, maybe it's time that you just really want to be your own boss. Maybe your motivation is that you love working with customers and they love you. Maybe it's that you know the business well and you know that you can make it work as your own business. Maybe you want to make a lot of money so you can buy a bigger house or send your kids to college. Maybe it's that you see a demand for your small business. Maybe you have a specific thing that isn't out there and there's a need for it. What if you're great at making fill in the blank? Maybe it's cookies or clothing, jewelry, or marketing brochures. It can really be anything digital or tactile. Maybe it's that you have great service, a great service to provide. Maybe you're great at organizing or fixing things or even walking dogs. Maybe that's something you're great at. Maybe you're focused on how you can affect your community. Maybe you want to create jobs in your neighborhood. Or maybe you want to work part-time from home. Maybe that's something that appeals to you. Maybe it's something that's not on the list. Is there anything that you guys could think of that would be a motivation for you that we haven't listed? Or maybe ones that really resonate with you that make sense? You guys can go ahead and chat that in. For me, I have tried to start my own business. And for me, it was that I really like the idea of creating my own hours. The idea of saying I'm open from this time to this time, or I'm free this time to this time, that I would have the ability to flex my hours to go where I wanted to go when I needed to go there, just was really appealing to me. So that would be one of my motivations. Anyone else have one that we didn't mention, or maybe one that resonates with you in the chat? Let's see, turning a passion into a business. Yeah, I think that's, for me, again, I'll go back, I'll give my example again. I was very passionate about photography. I really, really loved giving people photos back that made them really happy to be able to capture like a moment in their life or their kids at a certain age or a really special event. And so that was something that really drove me is being able to provide that to someone. Adam said, I have no desire to open a business. I'm just here to learn things. I don't know, out of sheer curiosity, and in case something breaks, you'll need me to fix it. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate. So maybe you could be in the business of fixing things, right? You could open your own. I don't know what an IT store would look like. Maybe like a computer service. Okay, no. Okay. That was a quick no on that one. Hey, that's all right. This isn't for everybody, but for those that maybe it is for, they can really go through this time with us this evening and figure that out. Even if you've already figured it out, Adam, thank you for being here. So before we take any steps, I really encourage you guys to have a good grasp on your why. You've probably heard Simon Sinek say this. You may have seen it otherwhere or other places, excuse me, or everywhere really, because it's on Pinterest, it's on Instagram. It's really this common phrase that people are saying of, get in touch with your why, because that's really what anchors you. And it really is true, because this process of starting your own business, it is not easy in a lot of cases. Sometimes you're going to really struggle or hit some roadblocks. And so you really need to be clear on your why, because you want to be able to hold on to that and remember why it's all worth it, why you need to continue pursuing your dream, continue working through the roadblocks so that you can get to your goal, which would be starting your own business. So let's meet someone who's also considering the idea of starting his own business. So this is Derek. And Derek is actually worried. He's uncertain if his employer at a chain bakery will be able to stay in business for much longer. See, his boss makes bad decisions. He has poor financial management and he lacks customer focus. As a seasoned baker, Derek knows he has the skills to provide high quality products to their customers, and he thinks he has the necessary skills to open his own bakery. Over the years, thanks to his warm personality, Derek has developed relationships with dozens of loyal customers. His family has been encouraging too. They believe that his dream of opening a bakery that would provide exceptional custom cakes, a range of delicious baked goods, and rustic and welcoming bakery storefront could be a success if Derek is willing to put in the necessary time and make smart decisions. Derek thinks that he could be a great businessman, but he also has some doubts and fears. He needs to understand what it really means to own a business to make a decision that is right for him. So, thinking of Derek, we're going to go through this evening and keep him in mind and think about maybe how we could advise Derek about some of the realities of owning a business. Even just what you're hearing, do you guys think Derek would be a good business owner based on what we've shared so far? I know it's kind of subjective, but just from what you've heard, do you think that he might be a good business owner? He's got experience. He's got the customer base. He's got the quality. Yeah, maybe we're not sure yet, right? Maybe he has potential. Yep. Need more info. Possibly, but what's his level of discipline in making unpopular and hard choices? Example, fire his good friend. You guys are all correct, right? So that's exactly what we're going to be diving into. And what my hope is that we'll be able to dive into that for yourself as well, if that's something you're wanting to look into. Maybe you have all the, well, if I'm good at this, or I have this, but we also need to look at what are my weaknesses or the things I need to work on, because those are going to be things you're going to have to deal with also. So great answers. I didn't expect a yes or a no, honestly. I was kind of hoping you guys would key in that a lot of people are in this place where it's kind of an idea, but how do you get it further than idea without actually jumping all the way in so that you don't want to regret your choice, right? So as we discussed Derek's journey, maybe you can discover if going into business is a good fit for you as well. So that's why we want to meet Derek. So business ownership requires many smart decisions, as you guys actually mentioned in the chat. Some are easy to make, like I should go into business for myself, while others are really tricky, like how will I finance my business? What will I do if my employees don't provide great customer experience? Or what if a customer writes a bad check? There's a lot of what ifs out there. And here are some assumptions that might be true or false. And this I'm going to put back on you guys. I want you to help me. I want you to tell me what you think is true and what is false. So I'm going to say a statement. You let me know if it's true or false. And if you have any thoughts on why it's true or false, go ahead and put that in the chat as well. So the first one is starting a new business can be a huge personal sacrifice for your family. Do you guys believe that's true or false? Starting a new business can be a huge personal sacrifice for your family. True or false? Okay, so we got a couple trues that have come in. True, a startup takes a lot of time and energy. Yeah, it looks like we're agreeing that this one's true. Established businesses are when you can start to take it easy, right? Established, that's the key word, huh? A startup, not the best time to take it easy, as you mentioned. Yeah, I would agree with you guys. This is a very true statement. You added to, if you don't have a partner or others helping, you're doing it all yourself, right? Exactly. So being realistic, how much work you have to put in each week? What if you're already working a full-time job and you're trying to launch this other business that you can jump into, right? Like, it's a lot of time, a lot of time. Okay, let's go on to the next one because you guys got that one right. True or false? You have to get it right every time. True or false? Talking about owning a small business, you have to get it right every time. False, false, false. Perfection is impossible. Don't try for it. Learn from mistakes. Love that comment, Adam. Thank you. Right. Is it even possible to get it right every time, especially when you're trying something new? No, it's just, it's impossible. And like Adam said, you really have to learn from those mistakes. So I think going into trying a new journey, like starting your own business, there's going to be a lot of mistakes and roadblocks in there. And you're going to have to learn from those things. And you have to learn to pivot. And that's going to be part of your tenacity, honestly, if you're wanting to start a business. And maybe that's a hard truth for some because they really want it to be an easy road. But unfortunately, it's very rare for starting a new business to go perfectly and without any problems or hiccups. It just, it's the world we live in, and there's competition and there's people who are doing it and being successful. And so we just have to get it in our heads that it's not the goal to get it right. It's just figuring it out and learning. You guys added some comments. Be successful, there will be failures, right? Marsha's right. There will be failures. Like, it's not like a if, it's a win, right? And yes, I'm smart, Alec. Thanks, Adam. All right, next one for you guys. You will have more freedom, control, and work-life balance. Is that true or false? When it comes to starting or having a small business, you will have more freedom, control, and work-life balance. True or false? Yeah, this one's a tricky one. I don't know if there's a wrong answer to this one. And we have a false, a true, a potentially, yeah, a maybe. I would agree. I would agree with all of you, because it kind of matters where they're at in the business, right? We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. When you're starting a business and having to really put in a lot of time and work, it may not be or feel like freedom, and you may not feel like you're in control, and you probably don't have work-life balance. But the goal is to get to that, right? We see successful business owners who do find that, right? Because they're able to have employees, have partners, have managers underneath them, whatever that might look like for that specific business. So it is attainable, but is it what you're going to get right off the bat? Probably not. Probably not. But again, remember your why, have the tenacity to get there, right? Okay, the next one. This one's a fun one. True or false? You will not have a boss. True or false? You will not have a boss. I like this one because the answers are interesting that we get. True or false? When you have a small business of your own, you're the owner. Do you have a boss? I don't see answers rolling in, so I feel like you guys are thinking about it. As I say, we might have some differing answers here. I'm curious to see what you guys have to say in the chat box. All right, so we have a false. Those you serve will always be your boss. That's the one side of the coin, right? Then we have a true depending on who is in business with you. Hmm Yep. So we're thinking of the maybe what we would call the definition of what a boss is, right? Some one person who's over you. So maybe that's not the case when you have your own business, but the idea of a boss helping you determine what you should be doing in your work, maybe you will have a boss because those you serve will be your boss, right? And then Adam said, define boss, right? Okay, so maybe I did. You yourself as a boss, which is often the most unrelenting task manager. Ooh, that's an interesting way to put that. You always have to pay the tax man. There you go. See, there's that answer too, right? No wrong answers on these guys. Just want you guys to share your thoughts. And I think you guys are all spot on with that. It's really how you think about it, right? Okay, last one. Successful entrepreneurs do it all themselves. True or false? Successful entrepreneurs do it all themselves. All right, some answers coming in. False, false, usually false. Anyone care to elaborate on why they chose false? Why don't successful entrepreneurs do it all themselves? Is there really teamwork in entrepreneurship? Does anyone else deserve the credit? Tiffany says it's rare that anyone has all the necessary skill sets and experience to truly be successful. I think it goes back kind of to that get it right idea of being perfect. I think this is another thing that you really have to have when starting a business is to have the humility to know that you don't know it all and you don't know how to do it all. Right. Adam says you have suppliers, distributors, baseline infrastructure, employees, even if just one-off contractors. I think it would be really foolish of someone to say that they did it all on their own. I mean, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine someone not being supported even by their family, which is another thing we talked about earlier, right? The sacrifice that your family gives to give you the time in order to start this business. I would hope that they would get credit for maybe taking more of the load at home. Maybe someone's taking care of the kids or running more errands. Tiffany said, typically people know their business and not always the business of business, if that makes sense. I think that makes perfect sense. It's true, right? An entrepreneur isn't just someone who knows how to do something, right? Like if I know how to bake a cake, that doesn't make me an entrepreneur. I have to understand the business part of it as well. And in that case, you usually have to lean on others, even for funding or for guidance on getting registered with the state or whatever it is. There's a lot of teamwork that has to happen, even if it's not seen as, a team that all works for the same company. There's a lot of people that can be helping. So, and we're going to get into resources a little bit later so you guys can see just tactically how you guys can actually go to those places and get that help if you are in that place that needs to just get a little more clarity on how to start a business. So wonderful job, everyone. Good input also. I really appreciate you guys playing along with that one. And sometimes, as we've talked about, these truths and realities are based on us, right? So we all have strengths that help us succeed. We all have skills that we need to be developed if we plan to own and grow a healthy business. Even a small tree has to develop a huge root system before it can begin to bloom or bear fruit, right? So this graphic depicts some of the roots of power, as we'll call them, that can feed your business and yourself. So these roots are divided into 4 categories. We have people power. That's going to be your ability to influence others, such as staff or partners, financial providers, and customers. Then you have your sales power. That's going to be the ability to set and attain sales goals, that tenacity we talked about. And answer the question, are you ready to sell all the time? If you think about it, you go into the store to buy groceries and you start a conversation. Are you ready to sell a cake to someone or whatever service you're ready to provide for that person? It's having that sales mindset, right? Finding the need and filling it with what you can provide. Next is financial power. So this is going to be the ability to secure and manage money and your credit as well. And lastly is going to be the self-discipline power. That's going to be the ability to manage your time, your habits, and your energy, which are all things we talked about earlier. And those are going to be the big things you're spending the most with, right? You're going to be spending your time, you're going to be adjusting your habits, and you're going to need a lot of energy to get to a point of launching a business and making it successful. So on the resources page, which Tiffany is going to go ahead and share a link for us now, you guys can click over to that, save it as a favorite so you can visit after we're done here. But on that resources page is going to be this self-assessment you see on the screen here. So this is going to help you dive in even deeper to your root system. So everything we just said. These 40 statements here, they describe some competencies that successful business owners tend to share. So what you're going to do is you're going to read each root item, and then you're going to assess yourself. You're going to score yourself high, medium, or low. And then you have the opportunity to make some notes as needed as well. And when doing so, when you're going through this list, feel free to ask some trusted advisors for feedback on what they see as your strengths and on your areas that you can develop. So in the chat, can anyone tell me who might be some of your trusted advisors? Who are some people that you think you could go to give you a really honest answer if you were to ask them, am I good at this, or is this something I need to work on? Does anyone have any trusted advisors in their life? They're kind of hard to come by. Anyone? Tiffany's onto something. She said I would ask the public. Yes, if that was for the product, absolutely, which we will get to a little bit later. But for right now, this is specifically talking about your own skills, your own knowledge, and your own attitude. So it's all about you. So it has to be someone you really trust. Maybe a sibling that you have a really good relationship with. Marcia said close friends and family. Yes, definitely. I could think of someone maybe you work with now, where it wouldn't be obviously a conflict of interest, but someone who knows how you work or who has worked with you in the past, who can really answer some of these questions. And we're going to look at some of the questions a little closer. We're going to go back and visit our friend Derek again and see how he answers some of these. But I just wanted to kind of plant a seed for you guys on who maybe could be your trusted advisors if you do choose to go through this self-assessment. So looking forward, Kendra did a great one. Yes, if a recent graduate, professors, or fellow students. I love that. Yes, for our younger people, absolutely. Absolutely. Or I guess anyone who's just graduated, you can graduate at any age. So once you guys have completed that self-assessment, you're going to then move on to the start, stop, and continue action planner. So you guys will see that also on that handout that is on that resources page, but we will get to that in just a second. So let's go ahead and look at a portion of Derek's self-assessment. So we're going to walk through a couple of these together. So the first root that we're looking at is I'm easygoing and likable. So for Derek, he rated himself as high, and his note said, everyone tells me I'm really nice, which is a valid point, right? His next one was I actively listen to customers, staff, and stakeholders. He again gave himself the rating of high. He said that because dozens of customers are already ready to support his new business. Next one, I'm honest and sincere. People trust my word and believe in me. Again, he rated himself high. He says, my customers trust me and they're willing to buy from me. But on inspire others, meaning customers, staff, and partners, he gave himself a medium because he's not sure how inspiring he is. This would probably be a good time for him to talk to someone that he'd worked with in the past, maybe. Again, avoiding that conflict of interest, of course. I have respect for others who have differing opinions and values. He gave himself a high rating. I have a diverse set of customers and friends. Strong vision and belief in what I'm capable of doing. Again, he gave himself a high, and he says his customers adore him. That's great. Good job, Derek. Let's see, though. He gave himself a medium on I think ahead and I'm able to plan for the future, not just for now, because it can be overwhelming. So let's assess his assessment Looking at the traits that he rated as high, are there any of those traits that could be used to help him move those mediums into the high category? A medium, again, being that he inspires others and that he thinks ahead. Are there other skills that he's rated as high that could be used to strengthen the traits that he rated as medium? So again, he rated inspire others as medium. He doesn't know how inspiring he is. And with thinking ahead, he gave himself a medium because it can be overwhelming. Thank you, Adam. He said, sincerity, honesty, and trustworthiness are the basis of inspiration and leadership. I agree, right? If he has all those characteristics already, those attitudes and skills, then that's going to be easy for him to lead by example, right? I totally agree with that. I think that his rating of high in that category is what's going to help him to inspire others. I totally agree. I think that's a great answer. What about the other one he rated for medium? Yes, people trust him and he has respect for others, right? That will go back again to the inspiring thing. Absolutely. Absolutely. So thinking ahead, are there any skills on here that he mentioned that he would rate himself high on that might be able to help that planning and thinking ahead? 6 can help number 7. I have a strong vision and belief in what I'm capable of doing. Right? A strong vision would be seen in the future, right? So maybe he is overwhelmed by it, but he still has that cornerstone of having that strong vision, right? So that he can kind of figure out the rest as long as he's got that end goal in mind. I would agree. Absolutely. Any other thoughts before we move on? You guys did a wonderful job. He needs to hire an employee who is loyal, that can handle immediate chaos. He describes himself as not able to think on his feet when plans go pear-shaped. Sorry, that's funny. Yes, that would be something, right? And we're gonna get to that in a second. Adam, you guys are so good. You guys are like, this makes me feel like we're on the same page here because everyone's like, what about this? And you guys are like getting to what we're getting at in the end game. So that's perfect. So let's go ahead and start looking at that, right? Thinking about, oh, what does he need to do? Well, this is more about what you need to do because I'm going to ask you guys to do your self-assessment and then do that thinking for yourself, right? Think about what can help, what strengths can help things that maybe you're not rated as high in. So as I mentioned earlier, you've got the self-assessment done. Now it's time to take the next step and decipher what you need to start doing, what you need to stop doing, and what you need to continue doing. So we've got a start, stop, continue plan is what we're going to call it. So let's look at Derek's again. Now he did the full assessment, all 40 questions. So he's got a little bit more insight now. But what Derek wrote down is that for his start, he's going to ask Tony to partner with him. I'm not exactly sure who Tony is, but I'm going to assume that Tony is probably someone who also has experience in business. Maybe he has kind of some experience with bakery. And so he's wanting to find someone who can partner with him. And maybe instead of trying to fix his own weaknesses or things that he thinks he might need to develop, maybe he's going to look for someone else to really partner with him to fill those gaps, which is also a very valid thing to do. I'm not even going to go into what you have to think about with a partnership. I think we can all kind of figure that out because sometimes two people don't think the same, right? So there's going to be more conflict resolution, but the strength that two people can bring to a business could really be beneficial overall. So that's Derek's plan. He's going to ask Tony to partner with him to open that new bakery. As far as his stop action, he's going to stop worrying about his lack of financial expertise. He's going to ask for advice from his banker or his financial advisor, and he's going to set up an appointment with an accountant. So he probably answered one of those questions in the money area saying, I don't really understand the financial part of this, but what he's going to do is he's going to stop worrying about it, and he's not going to let that be a roadblock for him any longer. He is going to actually, he put a start in his stop, which is great. He's going to ask for advice, and he's going to set up an appointment with an accountant so you can really get that all figured out. And then he's going to continue because Derek realizes that he does have strengths now, right? This isn't a thing that's going to say, oh my goodness, you need to stop these bad things you're doing. You need to start doing these things that you're not doing and then that's the end. No, there's also a space because we want to make sure that you're feeling encouraged, or that you feel encouraged, excuse me, to continue with the good things. So Derek is going to continue to work at another bakery because he needs to save money to start his business. So he realizes that choosing to work at another bakery is going to be a benefit right now for him because he needs to save the money for his business. So that's Derek's start, stop, and continue. There's that example for you guys. And this example is going to be in that self-assessment handout as well. So that when you get to that point, you absolutely can look back at Derek's as an example and then create your own. And remember, it doesn't have to be like a 50 point long list, make it what you need it to be, and be really realistic. This is like a SMART goal, right? So something that is measurable, it's timely, and it's not too overwhelming for you. Okay. And again, Tiffany just put in the chat the resources page so you guys can access that self-assessment handout as well. All right. So now that you know what to do, again, I want to encourage you not to feel overwhelmed, specifically with this self-assessment, or if it's right for you, if you're at a point of wanting to take further steps towards business ownership, just don't feel overwhelmed. Okay. The great news is you do not have to do this on your own. I highly suggest and encourage you to ask for advice and feedback from people like your family and friends. Ask them how they might react to you working 60 hours per week for a little while. See how you guys can reassess who does what at the house so that you can really make this dream come true. See how you can have those open and honest conversations so everyone's on the same page and everyone's supporting you, right? Next, make sure you talk to those potential customers. So that's something Tiffany pointed out earlier. You can ask some questions like, what do they want? What are they willing to pay for that thing that they want? Do the market research. And in the resources I'm about to give you guys, there is a specific tool just for figuring that out. So you can look at market research and figure out where your business or your product fits into the big picture. And then, of course, you can talk to your potential customers on what they're wanting to pay. And that way you can kind of get an idea of where you should price things and what's realistic for your customers. Also, don't be afraid to reach out to other business owners. Even if it's not in the same demographic or the same product as you, just knowing that someone else has navigated, getting registered and getting funding and going through other logistics, just having someone who can really be there with you and lead you to the right resources can be such a beneficial thing to have. Also, they can tell you what works and of course what doesn't work, which is really great. Also, you want to speak with a financial provider or a banker, wherever you have your accounts at. Start a relationship with that financial provider before you need a loan. That way they can get to know you, they can get to know your credibility, and that way they can support you better when it's time to start a business. And lastly, just like Derek did with Tony, maybe it's time to look at potential partners. Look for those partners that have skills and experience that might fit nicely with areas that you lack, and vice versa. Maybe you're really good at the management, the storefront, and maybe the other person's better at the office and the accounting part of it. And you guys can come together and create a really great pair to run a great business. So now that we've been through this part of our presentation about the self-assessment, I want to make sure you guys have lots of great resources. So again, on that resources page that Tiffany put in the chat, you can find these links. And the first one I'm going to share with you guys is SBA.gov. And SBA stands for Small Business Administration. It is a United States government agency that provides support to entrepreneurs and small businesses. Their mission is to maintain and strengthen the nation's economy by enabling the establishment and viability of small businesses and by assisting in the economic recovery of communities after disasters. So what they really boil it down to, their activities have been summarized as the 3 C's. So capital, contracts, and counseling, and that all has to do with small businesses. So on their website, you can find really great resources, from business resources and guides to help with finding funding, if that's something you really need to look into. They also have an entire online learning center with courses you can take at your own pace. So you can go in and look at what you want to look at and do more research, and then continue to plan. And they even have a guide to plan your business. Like, they have everything you could need, right? So I want to give them some major credit, because they really helped with me finding content and resources for this evening's webinar. So I really appreciate what they gave out for free, which is really, just so many resources. Additionally, unfortunately, this one was not linked on our resources page, but you guys can Google if you do live in Idaho. I know that there's some of our members and community members who are coming to our webinars who aren't in Idaho, but this is going to apply to any state you're in. Just type in small business and then whatever state you're in. So for Idaho, there's business.idaho.gov, and they have a thing called Business Wizard and Resource Wizard, where you can actually just answer a quick questionnaire, and they're going to take you through everything that the federal and state agencies need from you to start that business. And then, like I said, the Resource Wizard is going to give you anything you need for resources, from funding to counseling, to economic development and more. And that's going to be what's available in your area. So I'm going to assume that that's going to be for every state. So I'd really encourage you to just search small business and your state and see what kind of government site they have available for you. Because you're definitely not on your own in this, and you have a lot of people behind you who really want to support you in this, including obviously our very own country and state, which is awesome. So here's our key takeaways now that we've gone through our resources. I want you all to walk away with these this evening. So first, remember, we all have strengths and weaknesses, but the key is to recognize where you are, where you're strong, and where your development is needed. So where you need to put your focus on and where you need to really rest in your strengths. Next, have a clear plan of action. And that can come from utilizing the tools that I mentioned that'll help you organize and make that plan successful. And then lastly, don't be afraid to ask a range of knowledgeable people for advice. Again, your family, friends, accountants, and other business owners who I'm sure would be happy to help you and really help support you through this journey. So I want to thank you guys all again for joining me this evening. I want to remind you that if you fill out the survey that's going to pop up after we end this evening, you could be the lucky winner of a $25 e-gift card. Also, make sure you register for our next webinar called The Basics of Borrowing. Tiffany's going to go ahead and share that in the chat now as well. That's going to be next month. And of course, I want to open it up for any questions you guys may have.